What's good, everyone? Welcome to another Monday edition of the Washington Commanders, The Aftermath. I'm here with my good friend Merle, and we're going to discuss the debacle of embarrassment of the Washington Commanders game against the New York Giants yesterday. Um, 14-7. Yeah, you heard right. 14-7. After the Washington Commanders came off a nice win from the Atlanta Falcons a week ago and find themselves falling right back into the same space again. So, with that being said, we're going to kick that intro and we're going to dive into it.
After the game, it's the aftermath. Win or lose, we still wave our commander's flag. Riding with Wentz under center, making the pass. Jahan Dotson, young rookie, making a splash. That burgundy and gold, that's what we about. Jonathan Allen knocking QBs to the ground. We die hard and nobody can shut us down. Cause this is the greatest show in town. Let's go. Go, 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 go.
And we're in.
All right. So, Merle, as we were discussing backstage, um, it's crazy right now to think that this team, as we know it, really has so much promise in the off season, and it seemed like it's each week is taking a step backwards more and more and more. And looking at the overall make of this team should not be the way it is. Now, a lot of us could say it's falls on the players. Okay, yeah. But at the same time, your coaching staff is supposed to put you in excellent position to succeed. If if I if I was your boss and I say, hey Merle, I need you to deliver this, and I give you specific direction. Now, if you go out there and do it differently, then yeah, that falls on you as a person. But if you go to do it the way that you've been taught and it works, or if you do go out there and do it like it's supposed to, and then it don't work, then me as a supervisor need to find a better way to make it work for you. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I see with the Washington Commanders is that Ron and Jack is probably teaching these guys, but at the same time, they're not they're not giving definitive direction how to these guys could be successful. We got too many talent on this team to be looking so bad. We like literally the worst team in the NFL with one of the best talent of rosters. That's where I look at it at this point. So how about you give me your overall analysis of yesterday's game?
Okay, so here's a team that, for starters, has some significant holes. The offensive line, as created on this team, I don't even think they could protect an offense in the XFL. I'm sorry about what happened to Jay Leno. Not Jay Leno. I'm sorry, Jared Leno, the left tackle who was back today. My heart goes out to him and his wife. As a father, you don't. I mean, just the thought of losing a child, especially an infant. His head ain't right. His head cannot be right. He had no business in the game, and I made a point of watching Leno throughout the game, and he seemed to be in sync with the whole rest of the line. I can't expect him to be any more than that.
Exactly.
But then even that is, how many times do we allow Sam Howell to get sacked before they finally start changing up the protection packages? How many times are we going to run the ball up the middle on first down when we know we can't do it against any team? I felt so sad for those few fans that made the trip up wearing their Hogettes gear. We're about as far. We are about as close to the hogs as you'll find in a vegan food convention. There ain't no hogs anymore. And I blame Ron Rivera for that. You know, it's supposed to be his team. Him and the general manager, they drafted this team.
Mm-hmm.
And we can say all we want about Sam Howell. We can say all we want about the running backs. We can say all we want about the wide receivers. If we can't run the ball on first down and protect and pass protect on second down, then what you have is you have to expect Sam Howell to do something Brett Favre-like every series.
Mm-hmm.
For us to win next week, we have to abandon the running game completely. We have to abandon the running game because we have to understand that our team, as constructed, cannot run the football, especially run the football up the gut against a team like the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
The second time around seeing them, we are not going to be able to run the football. We need to run screenplays. We need to run short passes. And that's our running game. Get it to Robinson or get it to Brian Robertson out of the backfield. Get it to Gibson or Rodriguez. Rodriguez, if he can catch, oh my God, he could be amazing out of the backfield.
Yeah, we're gonna probably have to do what we did the first time we played them, is kind of like, play off balance. You know what I'm saying?
Well, we have to do what we can do. And we have to realize as a team that as constructed, we are not a running football team. You can try to establish the run all day. You can say you're going to establish the run all day. What did Brian Robertson average per carry in the first half? Right around a yard per carry. Was that what?
I think it's kind of like.
How many rushing yards did we have in the first half?
I think
we had less than 40 total yards the whole first half. I know.
Hold on, let me go right back real quick. I could definitely show you real quick. Boom, boom, boom.
While you're looking that up, Martin, I've got a question for you.
Yes. Yeah.
We know that Eric Bieniemy is calling the offensive plays, but does he have access to the full playbook each down, or is Ron Rivera telling Bieniemy, "I want you to dial up a running play this down"?
I don't know, because that's a good question, but I think Eric Bieniemy brought his playbook over, so he has free range of the offense.
Well, he's using his playbook. But does he have free reign on the offense?
I think he does. I think he does have free reign on the offense.
Then fire him too. Then because here's the thing: is the only way that I want to see Eric Bieniemy on the sidelines this Sunday is if he did not have full free reign of his playbook.
Because I know Ron Rivera said that the offense is run through Eric Bieniemy and probably whoever he got as his assistant offense coordinator or quarterback coach, whatever the case may be. This is what I think, so looking at the stats, Rodriguez had 31, Robinson had 23. He only averaged 2.9 yards a run. Sam Howell had 15 yards. Gibson had 7. So that's under, if you think about it, that's 54, 69. And so that's 70-something yards total.
Against the Giants.
Yeah. So this is my thing. I look at it like this. I think Eric Bieniemy, I think I think the problem with him is that he's trying to make this offense like the Kansas City Chiefs, and the personnel of this offense is not like the Kansas City Chiefs, because them guys been there for the longest. Even with a bad offensive line, the year they lost the Super Bowl to Tom Brady, that offensive line wasn't good, but Patrick Mahomes was so skilled enough to evade it.
His offensive line wasn't as bad as ours.
Exactly. So
his offensive line wasn't as bad as ours. I mean, the fact is, is, I'm sorry, you cannot put that loss on Sam Howell. You
Yeah.
cannot put that loss on our running backs.
But
Now, my son made me promise not to roast Dotson too hard.
No, I mean, because
he should have caught that ball, but at the
he
same
should have
time,
caught it. He should have caught it.
but
I mean,
I don't
I
blame
still
him.
think it was 3 options in that game. 3 options for Sam Howell. And if you go back and look, he had De'Ami Brown streaking out. That same play, De'Ami Brown was in the flat. If he had threw that ball to De'Ami Brown, because Logan Thomas was coming across already, Terry was going to the back end, and Dodson was coming across. So if Sam Howell had hit the play before, I think Sam Howell had hit De'Ami Brown. De'Ami Brown would have either had the first down or touchdown. The game was tied.
How many touchdown passes has De'Ami Brown dropped this season already? I wouldn't throw that ball to De'Ami Brown.
I don't think he dropped it. I mean, he has
no. He didn't. They didn't throw him the ball.
De'Ami made plays yesterday, but the thing about it is the offense don't have time. The offense don't really have time because the time Sam Howell. This goes back to. I'm not going to put the Eric Bieniemy takes some responsibility, but this goes back before even Eric Bieniemy. We had 2 drafts 2 years ago to address the offensive line. We could have had 5 fresh offensive linemen right then and there. This would never been a question if we had solid offensive line play. Sam Howell would have been able to maneuver a little bit better. I think between Ron Rivera and Eric Bieniemy, they got to know the personnel. They got to know that this offensive line is bad. You got to use jet sweeps. You got to use screen plays. You got to do crossing routes, cross the middle, quick throws to get the ball out your hand really, really fast. If you holding the ball, if you dropping your quarterback back 5 and 7 drop, he ain't never had time to throw because by the time
we didn't attempt to throw a screen pass until the 4th quarter yesterday.
Yeah.
Look at how many screen passes we were hitting with. I mean, the first half of the game, I don't think they even called up a running play. But now all of a sudden against the Giants, we have to establish the run. That makes me wonder if during the lead up to the game that Rivera didn't maybe tell Bieniemy, you're going to be calling up a run play on first down. We need to establish the run. That's why I asked that question up front. Does Bieniemy really have full control of every one of his playbook plays on every down? And I don't know if that's the case. If it is the case, then this is his play calling. Because the offensive play calling was atrocious until the 4th quarter. Atrocious.
Yeah, I kind of think that it goes hand in hand a little bit. I do believe that Eric Bieniemy does. I mean, he's going to have to figure out how to protect Sam Howell. Ron Rivera going to have to figure that out too, because Ron Rivera makes all the calls for.
I don't think Ron Rivera can figure it out. I don't think Ron Rivera. I don't know what's happened. Have they had a press? The press conference isn't until tomorrow, isn't it?
They had one today.
They had one today. I'm surprised that Ron Rivera still has a job.
Well, trust me, I've been searching. I've been looking for the same thing, the same answer, and all of this stuff, and they're not gonna do nothing. I mean, I'm sure they're hearing the cries for the fans, but at the same time, they gotta at least take this accountable and say, hey, you know what? This team needs another direction.
Or this could be the team realizing it internally that we just don't have the weapons on offense and defense to make a run in the playoffs.
It's not that. I don't think it's that either. I think the scheme is bad. The scheme for the defense is bad. I'm telling you, if we had a solid offensive line, I think we would be able to get some things done. And I think if you start the game off trying to find Terry, let Terry be the focal point in the passing game, then everybody get this. When you try to go to everybody else and then Terry last, it makes it hard. If you go to Terry first and then everybody else second, then you could be able to do a lot of different things. We was
Well,
1 for 15 on third down.
well, here again, we're 1 for 15 on third down because when you look at our third down, every third down has been 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 15, 3rd and 20, because every time we tried to run the ball on first down and we couldn't. We tried to throw the ball on second down and we couldn't. Hold on for just a second. Pizza's here. Sorry, I'm watching. I apologize for that.
Oh, you're fine.
So, I mean, and that's the thing is when you're consistently have 3rd and 10, 3rd and 15, you need a offensive line that's able to pass protect. Our offensive line cannot run block and they can't pass protect. If you're only giving your quarterback 2 seconds to throw a football, then guess what? You can't run the football because they're loading up the box every time. And I mean, it's still a game that's bad. Is that we lost to a defense created by the son of a game show host. The defensive coordinator, Wink Martindale, you know who his dad was?
Oh, shoot.
Yes, the Joker's
yeah.
Wild. That's him.
The Joker's Wild. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
that's Wink. They had defensive. We lost to a defense created by the son of a game show host. How sad is that, brother?
Very sad, bro.
And not only that, but Wink Martindale whipped our ass. He dialed up an offense that was meant, or defense that was meant to exploit our weaknesses, which is our O-line. And you could turn around and say, oh, we need to run the ball. We need to throw to this guy. We need to throw to that guy. Sam Howell can't throw the ball when he's on his back. You know, almost every time he dropped back, he had a defender in his face within 2 seconds. I don't care who you are. Brady gets his ass kicked that game. Favre gets his butt kicked that game. And the fact is, I'm going to the defense, we have the best front four in the game. Payne, Allen, Sweat, Chase Young, best front four in the game. We need 6 other defenders. I'll keep St. Juice. I'm cutting everybody else. Yeah. Everybody else. That's the problem. But now you could be right. It could be the play calling. And you're right. The defensive play calling is horrible. But the thing is, unless we can sack the quarterback, I mean, we were stopping the run like crazy. Saquon Barkley's the real deal, and he couldn't do shit the whole game. Excuse me. I'm just so angry about what I watched yesterday.
I want to commend you on something.
Sure.
Because after yesterday, I went back to something that we talked about last year. And you said we need to strip it down and build it back up. And you came to my mind. I said, well, I'm going to say this for tonight. Because I say, when I talk to Merle, I'm going to say, you know what? You was right. you was right. And I was like, damn, we should have just go ahead and strip this down. And
I wouldn't have given Deron Payne that money. I wouldn't have given Jonathan Allen that money. I would have traded whoever I could trade. You know, you can't do that now.
Yeah.
At this point now, and I think, you know, honestly, we lucked up with Sam Howell. Sam Howell is one of those quarterbacks that you get in the 5th round that you never find. And if we can get him an offensive line next season, I think he's going to be our franchise quarterback. I honestly see he's the first guy since Theismann. He's actually his numbers that he's putting up. He's
Yeah.
putting up numbers that are better than Theismann ever did for single games. If you look at where he is in the season, you throw out the game against Buffalo where he threw the 4 picks. I think was it 2 or 3 of them were in the fourth quarter.
He only threw one yesterday.
No, I said in the Buffalo game.
I think it's 3.
3 picks in the fourth quarter. Most of those were in garbage time. The game was pretty much all over at that point.
Mm-hmm.
He's thrown 3 picks the rest of the season besides that 1 week.
And the bad thing about it is that I'm so concerned about his sacks because the fact of the matter is that he's taking so much beating to where it's
he's not taking shots, man. Those shots aren't that bad. If you see him, he's getting to him. He's trying to escape. He's getting tackled. He's not. These aren't in the pocket blindside hits that you were seeing Derek Carr get. Now, a couple of the hits were pretty tough, but nothing more than most quarterbacks will do. I'm not worried about those hits.
Yeah,
I'm worried about
me. I think me personally, I just don't want him to constantly take hits, unnecessary hits.
Well, hey, you know what? I'd rather take him a sack like that than an interception. Look at the interception rates of the other rookie quarterbacks and second-year quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah.
Okay, he's taken some sacks, but the thing is, he's taken sacks trying to escape, so they're tackling him around the legs. He's not taking headshots. It's not like what was happening with RG3. It's not like what was happening with a lot of our other quarterbacks, or like what happened. Oh my God, with Alex Smith, I still shudder to think about what happened to him that day. But the line can do that to him.
Mm-hmm.
I just honestly, at this point, I don't want to see the same offensive line on Sunday that I did. And when you go out as a New York Giants team and sign an entire offensive line off of practice squads, and it outperformed us, that's just embarrassing.
Yeah, it is. I really don't. I guess I can say I really don't like the way this team is functioning on all fronts. And I get it. We all wanted change and everything like that. But I think, somebody say, hey, well, they say, well, the next thing, the only way Ron Rivera keeps his job if he makes the playoff. I don't see him making the playoff. I see us going either. I mean, we could lose every game the rest of the way. I mean, if you look at teams, anything can happen. It's 10 games left. Anything can happen.
You know what? The only way Ron Rivera does not get fired in the offseason is if something happens in the world and there is no offseason. I can pretty much assure you. I mean, when you take a look with the new ownership, it's par for the course. New ownership takes over a club. He's not making any changes the first year because that owner needs to be able to evaluate what he bought. He didn't buy the team. I mean, remember, Eric Bieniemy was already hired when he took over the team. I kind of look at it in a way as like when Steve Cohen bought the Mets a couple years ago. I mean, all of us were clamoring them to fire the manager, and they didn't until after the season and hired Buck Showalter. That ended up not working out. But the other point I want to make is, do you know how many years from when Magic Johnson's ownership group bought the Dodgers till they won the World Series? You know how many years that was? 8.
And let me ask you a question.
8 years.
I definitely want to ask you this question. Yeah. I feel like it's been on my mind, and I made a post yesterday about it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that the some part of the team has checked out on Ron Rivera?
I think some part of that team checked out on Ron Rivera a couple of years ago. And when you listen to what Jonathan Allen said in the press conference afterwards, I don't have to repeat it because I don't want the algorithm to kill us.
Yeah.
But what he said was correct. I mean, here's a guy that is completely sick of it. He said basically pretty much the exact same thing that Max Scherzer said right before the day before the Mets traded him early this year.
Mm-hmm.
And that sounded to me like Jonathan Allen a couple days before the trade deadline wouldn't mind going somewhere else.
Yeah.
I don't blame him.
I had got that same feeling, and the trade deadline is what, next week?
Next week.
And I think that I think that he's going he's probably say, you know what, hey, if we not gonna do anything here, let me go. So when you remember when Trent Williams, Brandon Sheriff, all of them started having that mentally checked out status, you know what I'm saying, in their head, guess what? The thing about it is that once they checked out mentally, it's a wrap. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing you could do because he been there 7 years. He said, so therefore you think about 7 years.
Yeah, so
okay.
he's basically had 4 years of Rivera, 3 years of Gruden.
Mm-hmm.
No wonder Jonathan Allen feels the way he does. And I know, and you know what? McLaurin isn't even a commander if we don't overpay him. Deron Payne is not a commander if we don't overpay him. Now Payne is worth it. Our front four is worth it.
This is another thing I see too. Another thing that I see too is that I believe, and this is why I believe that what's going on, Key? How you doing? Your Phillies looking good. It's a thing that I see, right?
Good about the Phillies. Sorry.
I feel like at this point in time right now, I think Ron Rivera, I mean, ain't too many resets you could do. It's not too many resets you could do with this team.
They should have blown it up last year.
They lost. Yay. Just joking, Keith. Just joking. I think at some point in time, I think the thing that's going to make this Commanders team better, they're gonna have to gel together. They're gonna have to really dig deep. If Ron Rivera, this is my thing. Okay, Ron Rivera, this is a press conference today. He's like, I guess he's hoping that we have some kind of magic potion to beat the Eagles on Sunday. I mean, yeah, we should have beat the Eagles earlier. Yeah, I know we play y'all next week. I ain't looking forward to that game. So, I mean,
this was a game, and I tell you, I still keep going back to that fourth quarter because we had that opportunity at fourth down again with 7 minutes left in the game, and they decided to kick that 27-yard field goal, which shook my head. I mean, 3 points doesn't do anything for us that time in the game. And if you're going to kick a 27-yard field goal, why didn't you let time run out and push it back 5 yards to give an easier chance for Sly? But again, it wouldn't have changed anything. We should have gone for it on fourth down then.
Yeah.
And tied the damn game. So then that pass at the end of the game, he doesn't make it. We just go in overtime. Or more importantly, Saquon Barkley, 9 times out of 10, doesn't fumble the ball right when he does. Mm-hmm. The fact that we even had a chance to tie that game was pure dumb luck. And it comes down to bad play calling. In a way, I got to give it to our new owner. in that he's not going to make a knee-jerk reaction just because the fans are screaming for it.
Exactly.
And I'm sure he's committed to keeping Rivera and Del Rio for the rest of the year. I was talking to a buddy of mine a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about that, and we're pretty certain that I think Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio are retiring at the end of the year. I don't think there's any situation where they're coming back. I don't think Ron Rivera wants to coach anymore. And when all you can do is sit and cry about the refs making a bad call in the fourth quarter when it shouldn't even have. Our defense played better for most of that game yesterday than they've played all season.
Mm-hmm.
Bad play calling and all.
Exactly. Because you got
it's like everything good you guys were trying to tell me about how Davis is better than I'm saying that he is, and look what happens.
But the thing about it is, Jamin Davis was never that guy.
No.
I mean, like I said, if Ron Rivera had actually went out and got some offensive linemen, you got to think Ridgeway, Hill, James Smith-Williams, and F.A. Abada, they all four of them has came in last year and contribute. So why not? Okay, if you want to keep Chase them there, that's fine and good. But at the same time, why not try to use one of them as a trade to get a commodity for the draft and plug one of them guys that played outstanding last year? You know what I'm saying? Gave them an opportunity. We got backups that could easily take these guys' place on defense and play solid. I mean, the offensive line should have been fixed. The linebacker situation should have been fixed a long time ago. These guys sat back. Ron Rivera just sat back and been stubborn and didn't want to do anything. And this is what we got. Now we gotta sit here. With with Eric Bieniemy putting a new offense in. He don't have no great protection. But guess what? All of this is making him look bad just as well, because he cannot execute the way he wants to execute. You know what I'm saying? Now we sit here looking around. Hey, look what the Patriots did. They beat the Bills. The Giants almost beat the Bills last week. We got blown out by the Bills. And we have just as much talent as them two teams. And we can't seem to do anything. If people
I'm going to disagree. I don't think we have as much talent as either of those two teams. When it comes to when you take account all 45 men on our team and the fact that we easily have the least talented offensive line in the National Football League.
I agree with that.
I would turn around and say that we are one of the least talented teams. I honestly had us at this time, when I looked at the season, okay, I had us beating the Giants yesterday to go 2-5. At the beginning of the season, I had us beating the Giants to go 2-5. The only wins I had us this season so far were the two that I picked wrong: Chicago and the Giants. Well, I had Arizona beating us, I had Denver beating us, I had Philadelphia beating us, and I had Atlanta beating us.
I had those 2-2 in the first 4 games, and that was us taking the first 2 games, losing the next 2, and then winning against Chicago and Atlanta to go 4-2, and then beating the Giants to go 5, and then playing the Eagles again. Whether we win or lose that one, it depends on how it go, and then trickle down into the rest of the season.
I say we're going to win 3 more ball games tops all season.
It's going to be tough.
We're going to beat the Giants the next time we play them. I think we win tomorrow.
I don't even honestly, I don't think we can win another game. I mean, strange things has happened, and my optimistic of this team has gone out the window. I have to be a little bit more. I've been critical of this team Me and you have talked a whole lot about it. I've been critical of this team, and my critical analysis of this team is really, really more than anything. I know we could be fans of this team. We could be homers of this team, but at the end of the day, man, we got to be real about this team. This team is this team
What
has
this one team is constructed.
this team has talent, but the leadership of it doesn't fit. The schemes doesn't fit the talent. Because I could promise you this: if Wink Martindale came over and coached our defense, you will see a whole total defensive scheme, and you'll see these guys playing a whole totally different way. You know what I'm
You know
saying?
what I would see if Wink Martindale was running our defense this week? Next week, we'd be without Chase Young and Montez Sweat because they'd both be in jail for killing somebody on the other team. I mean, really, the way that defense, Wink Martindale looked like Buddy Ryan yesterday.
Now I'm gonna say this too.
That's
I didn't want. I mean, I was on a band with with oh, what's the dude name? Airbnb. But I actually wanted I wanted um a lot of people would say Greg Roman because he runs the ball a lot. I mean, that would have probably been a good thing.
well,
I think I wanted it was some other defensive coordinators I did in my analysis over the season that I had wanted because I felt like they could have fit the scheme. The thing about it is, if you look at teams, is how they pass the ball, they get the ball out of flat to the running back, they do screen passes and stuff, and then they don't they don't sit back and just allow the defense. They takes the top off. They make the defense um they make the defense work. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we don't do. We don't make the defense work enough. We don't make the defense have to think twice. Now, when we got the ball to Terry, the defense started playing different because they had to play Terry. They had to do the things that they need to do with Terry, and that's the things that we have to us as fans, as us watching the game, we have to look at and know that Terry, you got to get the ball to Terry to make sure that Terry he's being that guy. And if he's not going to be, if you freeze him out the game, then what you think is going to happen? You know what I'm saying?
well,
So
it all starts though. You need 3.5 seconds at minimum to be able to throw the football.
but he's
If you're
getting
not
he's
getting,
getting sacked in them three
he's
point
getting
five.
stacked in 2 seconds.
There was somebody posted on Twitter today on Bleacher Report say Sam Howell is getting sacked within 3.5 seconds. I mean, if he's getting sacked that fast, that means
Then it's not on Sam Howell at all. It's on the offensive line.
mm-hmm.
It's on the offensive line, and it's on the coach for not running proper protection schemes and for not getting Sam Howell the heck out of the pocket. When
Yeah.
you get Sam Howell out of the pocket, when you make him act like Brett Favre, he looks like a young Brett Favre. In fact, his numbers are better than Brett Favre at this point in Brett Favre's career. And Brett Favre always had a better offensive line.
Yeah. I honestly I really feel like this is oh man.
Sam Howell is a fantastic kid. Now, full disclosure, I have been watching this kid play football and baseball since he was a sophomore in high school. I know his coaches. I know what the kid's makeup is. He would have gone to Carolina regardless if he was an athlete or not. That's how smart he is, number one. Number two, as a junior, he had a 93-mile-an-hour fastball,
Mm-hmm.
a slider that would just drop off the table. He was a first-day draft pick if he chose to become available for the Major League Baseball draft as a high school student. He did not play baseball in college because Mac Brown said no.
Yeah.
And think about that. Sam Howell coming out of college, could have been the next John Elway.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, finish up, because I want to pick your brain real quick too.
But the thing is that when you look at Sam's doing everything they ask of him and more. Sam's making things happen. Sam's putting the football where it's supposed to be. And you know what? He was a little bit behind Dotson on that last throw, but he put that ball in Dotson's hands, and that ball should have been caught. That should have been first and goal.
Yeah. Actually, and on that same play, I'm glad you brought it up. When he rolled out, Logan Thomas was sitting right there in the middle end zone. Terry was on this side. Dotson was right here. As Sam had pump faked it, because he had 2 trailers.
He'll learn that. Because remember, he's a rookie.
Yeah. And the only thing he had to do is cut back in. Best, he would have got the first down, or he could have pump fake it, make the defender, and toss it to Logan Thomas, and Logan Thomas would have had the touchdown. So there was 3 different ways he could have gone with it.
What he did is he threw the ball to Dotson, and Dotson had the yardage for the first down, and the ball hit him in his hands.
Well, actually, when Sam threw it, it was kind of behind him.
It was a little behind him, right?
He was trying to catch it like this and tip it to him, but because the defender didn't hit him until after. So if he was able to correct,
if the ball hits your hands and you're getting paid more than $1 million a year, you better catch it every time.
Yeah, I agree.
And the thing is, and if this was the only drop Dotson's had in a key spot this season, I'd be a little less. And I'm sorry, Jordan, if you're watching. You asked me not to roast Dotson too much. Okay, we shouldn't roast him. We should just cut him.
I mean, I don't think that's the answer either. I don't think cutting players is because they made a mistake.
It's not just one. But
he's a second-year player. You know what I'm saying? And you can't just put that one play on him, because there's a whole lot of other dynamics that go into that. Because if Sam was Patrick Mahomes, I guarantee you Patrick Mahomes wouldn't have thrown that pass to him. Patrick Mahomes would have either see Kelsey in the flat or fake like he was going to throw it to Dotson and ran up. So there's different ways.
But then Patrick Mahomes, and you're right, Patrick Mahomes got a chance to sit behind Alex Smith for a year.
Exactly. And see, Sam hasn't had a chance to sit by
anybody.
Taylor Heineke, Carson Wentz. They ain't no. That's not really giving him any look. If he had Alex Smith over there, then that would have been different.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? He's a rookie. He's a rookie doing this.
So these mistakes is going to come hand in hand on both sides. Dotson's his second year. Howell's in his second year. Brian Robinson in his second year. So we got second year players. Yeah, it's rough right now, but I still say we have to strip that coaching, the leadership out the office, because if we don't strip them out of the offense, these guys going to be damaged, man. These players is going to be damaged. And I was watching Ed Oliver, shout out to him. He dropped the video yesterday, and he said that Dotson was one of the guys that said that Gary B. Enemy was riding him too hard. So you got to think how mentally he might be in his head. You know what I'm saying? From training camp to now, and he's not performing the way we think he could perform. So mentally, the guy could be.
He may be checked out. You're right. And
you know what I'm saying? So I think a fresh face, a fresh nuance to this team, a new leadership in the coaching could bring a sigh of fresh air for these guys. You know what I'm saying? These guys could really feel a little bit live, a little bit, not so tense, not feel like, oh, this is gonna happen. I mean, when you got Emmanuel Forrest messing up, and bless his heart, he's over there crying. These guys it's kind of like mentally damaged to them. So we got to understand the psyche of these guys too. Like Chase Young, Montez Sweat, Deron Payne, and Jonathan Allen, and Terry McLaurin, these guys been there longer, so they can handle that. They already mature in that. But when you got second year players and you got a new offensive coordinator and you got a head coach that don't know which way the wind is blowing half of the time, that's dysfunction and chaos you playing underneath. It's almost like having Daniel Snyder still there but not there.
Well, yeah, and it was like the best way that I could explain it was that first season with after Steve Cohen bought the New York Mets, and as horrible as they were under the Wilpons, that first season, and Steve Cohen took a little bit of heat for it. Is he kept, and the coach's name is escaping me. Luis Rojas. That's right. He was the manager before Buck Showalter. Let Luis Rojas have one more season as the manager, and they weren't that good, even by adding players like Francisco Lindor and getting Javier Baez at the trade deadline. We just weren't that good of a team yet. What they needed to do, they needed a new general manager, which they got. They needed a new manager and they needed some new players. And then when they didn't draft right and they didn't sign the right players, when it came down to the trade deadline, look at what the Mets did. They did what I suggested that we do in the offseason, and they got rid of whoever they could get, and they made some great deals. We got Acuña's little brother in the minor leagues, and Acuña's little brother makes Ronald Acuña the Acuña, and I forget his name, but the kid that's in the Mets organization, he's going to be a stud.
Yeah.
We got a bunch of really good young players from Houston and from the Rangers. And I think the Mets are going to look a lot better next year. And I could see the Commanders doing so, or whatever their name is.
Yeah, I actually think that something's going to happen around trade deadline. I don't know yet, but it's going to be.
I wouldn't be surprised if Jonathan Allen is gone.
Honestly, I'm telling you, something's going to happen to this team. To me, it's not. It won't even be a shock to me, because I think right now, the ownership could say this. He could tell Ron Rivera, say, "Hey, see what you could get for them. If it's not like a good draft pick, if it's below the third round, then don't trade for him. But if it's third on up, third or high second, then get some picks for them. Don't settle for no fourth or fifth round pick, because then that's don't even mean nothing. You know what I'm saying? Because you still drafting the same kind of player you've been drafting for the last two drafts. You need impact players. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, if trading Chase or trading Montel is going to get that, some people don't think it's going to happen. They might want to cornerstone this front and look at the back end. I mean, there's a whole lot of ways it could go. But me personally, this is what I think. If you trade one of the pieces off the defensive line and you get some draft picks, why not looking at these teams' roster and start bringing in some offensive linemen to build this offensive line? If Ron Rivera thinking today, say, oh, we got what, 10 games left? Okay, this is what you need to do. We need to strengthen up the offensive line. What you need to do, go out there, look at everybody's practice squad, see what's the best guys out there. Me personally, I don't. We all know it's all about winning. So therefore, you got to take people's feelings out the way. Leno, we love you, but guess what? You're gonna have to sit the bench. Wiley,
get your head right, Leno. Get your head right. That's it. I mean, it's
exactly. Get your head right. Take some time to yourself. Wiley, we brought you in. You haven't produced. You had to ride the bench. Ricky Stromberg came in yesterday, produced. The guy that came in yesterday, last week again when Leno was out, he produced. Put them in the lineup. You got another guy, Nick Gates. You're not getting the job done. Bring in another offensive.
Sadiq Charles gone.
Sadiq, he hasn't been that bad.
Well, he may not. He may be out. He may be hurt.
Yeah, he got hurt yesterday, and Ricky Stromberg came in and held it down for him. So therefore, Nick Gates, we brought you in. I thought Nick Gates was took some kind of plea deal for the Giants to throw the game because he was getting blown up in the middle so bad. Sam Howell was looking like as soon as I hike and I sit back there, he get his lunch taken. So my thing is, if I was Ron Rivera, that's what I would start from. If you want to salvage your season and try to make some kind of playoff run, the NFC is so weak, you have a chance to do it. But in order to do it, you got to go out there and find these guys for the offensive line. You got to make this offensive line a little bit stronger. I don't care if it takes 2 or 3 games. Run some kind of scheme so they can get the feel or the rhythm of the game. Because at the same time, yeah, our defense is holding us down. They're not playing as bad as we think. But guess what? If they on the field 95% of the time, we already know Merle. They're gonna get blown. They're gonna get
they
beat
got
up.
tired, and that's where those 2 touchdowns came. But here's the other side, and I was thinking about this while you were making your suggestions, Martin.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the question: if you're Josh Harrison, do you trust the current general manager and head coach to make any player moves ahead of the trade deadline?
No, especially if I already see what they have done.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you got
up.
Magic Johnson doing out there and say Magic, tell them that this is what they need to do, then they ain't gonna have no choice but to do it.
Okay, but here's the thing: if you're Magic Johnson, do you trust this group to make those kind of decisions? Because this front four, the team is as constructed. We got to be able to recruit a new GM, and we need to recruit a new coach. And I'm going to bring something up that hasn't been talked a lot about, but it's something that I've heard rumblings for a number of years.
Okay.
Going back to when I was still working for a company that did some business with the Redskins. And the rumors back then were that good free agents don't want to come here.
Yeah.
Coaches don't want to come here. General managers don't want to come here.
I think that was doing Daniel Snyder.
It was the same thing in New York with the Mets. Nobody wanted to play for the Wilpons. And as soon as you changed the ownership group, the same thing. It was like that with the Dodgers. Nobody wanted to come and play for these teams. Nobody wanted to work for those ownership groups. So now the new owner comes in, and since he's a smart guy, which he is, he's not going to make any moves immedately because he doesn't really know what he has. He's not going to do that craziness. And look at what Dan Snyder did. Instead of when Dan Snyder took over, what's the first thing he did? We had a team, Martin, that was a bad snap away from going to the NFC Championship game. And as bad as that game between the Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were, that's Tennessee Titans versus Washington Redskins in the Super Bowl that year. And I don't think it goes down that way. I think we whipped the heck out of Tennessee that year if we were in there. We are a bad snap away. Dan Snyder broke up that entire team.
We could have had two. We actually could have had probably 2 Super Bowls out of that too.
You never know. But he got rid of everybody. And that was that year that you remember when he charged for training camp. We brought in Bruce Smith, Deion Sanders, Jeff George as a quarterback. I mean, it's like give Dan Snyder a bunch of God knows what and let him pick his fantasy team, but make it real. I mean, it was crazy what he did. And then every year, I mean, we'd say, well, it's his first year as an owner. He never played. He was never part of the thing. Maybe he'll learn. But every year he got worse. He put his best friend as general manager, and they both tried to run the Washington Redskins like it was their own fantasy football team.
Yeah, that's what it was. And then when
he starts doing this stuff with the cheerleaders and everything else, man, Martin, you could tell. I tell you what, man, I didn't say this. But before I was invited to join this group here last season, I was about done, man. I was about ready to walk away from just watching the game for a while.
Oh yeah.
It had gotten so hard. I'm glad I didn't.
I mean, we was actually last year.
Yeah.
We had the same record last year. We was 3. What we is 3-4 right now?
Yeah, 3-4, and we just rattled off something like
Yeah,
straight or 3 straight.
and we took out Carson Wentz. We fixed the offensive line, made it more run dominant, protected, and added more extra protection in the passing game. And Taylor Heineke took off, and we won what, like 4 games out of that, 4 straight games.
Yep.
So
we had a better offensive line last year than we do this year.
Yeah. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, like I said. And that listen to Ron Rivera, that's what he's kind of like hoping a reincarnation from last year. But guess what? You're gonna have to get the offensive line, and you're gonna have to have some guys up there that could block, hold steady, And another thing too, I want Sam Howell to get out the pocket a little bit more.
Oh, has to. He can't stay in the pocket at all.
I think that's another reason why they're gonna have to get him out the pocket. They're gonna have to make him a little bit more mobile, slide. I don't care if it's 3 yards, get it. Show the threat that you can run. That'll push guys back, and then maybe the offensive line could hold. Now, Wiley, he said yesterday in his little press conference, like, well, we tired of seeing number 14 on his back. Okay, then play better. Pick up these chips. Go to your coach and say, hey, we need an extra block on here. Put an extra tight end. John Bates is just a bigger tight end that he could help as an extra blocker.
Yeah, you know it's not like Dotson's catching anything, but pull Dotson out, replace him with a tight end, and
exactly
protection.
Or if not, Samuels is in the game. You gotta show something different than what you're showing right now, because at the end of the day, if Sam Howell get hurt, then you put Brissett in there. Now, maybe give Sam Howell a reset.
It's not on Sam Howell, though.
I know.
Go back to the thing. If you are only getting 2 seconds to throw the ball, 2.5 seconds to throw the ball, no more than 3. Yeah, it's if you pulled Sam Howell at this point, you're going to ruin the kid.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I think it's not so much on Sam Howell. A lot of people say, well, Sam Howell, he got to help out. Yeah, okay, granted, good. This is the dude's first full season, so it's going to be a lot of things that he's not aware of. He's trying to learn the speed of the game, and that's the difference. If he started last year and came into this year and he understood the speed of the game, then that's a whole different conversation.
Well, here's what should have happened. But we couldn't. We wanted to get Russell Wilson.
I was so glad we didn't. I'm glad we stayed off of all of these quarterbacks.
Well, this was last year. Would you rather have had Russell Wilson or Carson Wentz?
Neither. I'd rather. I think last year, if we had went in and just started Taylor Heineke the whole season and had Sam Howell as the backup, and then start Sam Howell somewhere midway through, I would have been fine with that. Or we could have just turned it over to Sam Howell from the get-go and let Taylor Heineke back him up, and then let Sam Howell be able to see the speed of the game. He didn't get to see the speed of the game until one game of the season against the Dallas Cowboys. This is first full season, and then you got a bad offensive line, and this is where I have to really get on Ron Rivera, because his idiotic senile self knew you named this guy the starter going into the season, and you knew this offensive line was really, really bad, and y'all brought in people that was past their prime and set this offensive line to protect this young man. So you really set this young man up to fail in a sense, all sense of purposes. You know what I'm saying? So
remember, Dan Snyder hired. Ron Rivera was the best head coach that said yes. Because you know who turned us down first? Holmgren. Now, Holmgren didn't do so great in Dallas.
Oh, yeah, talking about McCartney?
Yeah, I'm sorry. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Not Holmgren, but
Mike McCartney.
But yeah, the guy that replaced Holmgren in Green Bay. He turned down Washington. A lot of good coaches turned down Washington. because they didn't want to work for Snyder. So now we've got a new owner. And we got a new owner that so far is showing that he's not meddling in the team at all.
I mean, and that's a good thing, a bad thing. You let Magic Johnson be the voice of it. I mean,
well, Magic Johnson's not meddling in the team either. What I mean by meddling is Dan Snyder was making personnel decisions because of his buddy Jerry Jones makes personnel decisions, but Jerry Jones played the game.
Yeah.
Dan Snyder never played anything more than fantasy
But
football.
see, the thing about it is, you can't be Jerry Jones when you just a little fish in the pond and you just coming in. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that. Jerry Jones been with this team for decades, for years. I mean,
and he played the game.
Yeah.
And he had been around the game his whole life.
Yeah.
Dan Snyder, the closest he ever got to football was when his parents bought him a ticket.
He shouldn't have never had this team.
No, it just tells you how horrible, how much of a train wreck. And I'm saying this knowing kind of what with the grandkids. How much of a train wreck was Jack Ken Cook's son that they gave that team to Snyder?
Yeah.
I mean, it's but you know, it's just like, how do you know? I mean, look at like here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I mean, I hate it for the Panther fans.
Well, I can tell you what. I'm at the point where right now we lose against the Eagles. They need to make a change. I'm sorry. I get it. We'll be 8 games in. You want to wait to the season. My thing is, if you wait into the season to make this change, and because if we keep going this way, we already what? Let me see the draft. I'm gonna try to check the draft.
All right. I got a question for you though, Martin.
Go ahead.
Sorry. What do you think the chances are that right now this team is constructed wins the Super Bowl this year? Okay. And now, what are the chances that by making any moves in season that they will cause us to win the Super Bowl? Remember, and I go back to baseball because we're just finishing it. Last year, the Philadelphia Phillies fired Joe Girardi in season, and they ended up going to the World Series that year.
So right now, our draft order is 14.
Okay, at this point, forget about all that. In season, if we make moves that are capable, moves that are out there, can we legitimately make enough moves that would make us a legitimate contender to win the Super Bowl this year? Not make the playoffs, but win the Super Bowl.
I mean, you're going to have to the order for that to happen, you're going to have to really fix that offensive line.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't think there are enough linemen to be had in season.
I mean, you really going to have to reconstruct that whole offensive line.
Yeah, and it's not just the offensive line. You need a brand new offensive line. You need at least one new linebacker and at least one new defensive back.
Yeah,
as a minimum for us to even make the playoffs. So
yeah.
The reason why I say this, okay, is if we up into the trade line, if we make a move or moves, which means trade a couple players, get rid of a coach, any of that. If that can completely turn around the season and make us a team that not just can make the playoffs and can say, hey, we made the playoffs, but to win the Super Bowl, if you can't do that, then I think it may just be better to just, as a brand new owner, to continue doing what he's doing and to sit back and evaluate and not meddle with the team at all, because by doing that, you are sending a message to the next general manager and the next head coach that I'm not the same as Dan Snyder. I am not going to meddle in the team to the point that it makes this organization a horrible place to work for. Sometimes you just have to realize that, this is the team This is the team that we thought they were. This is the team that I thought they were.
And you sound like Danny Green right now.
Yeah, exactly. I'm coaching. I do, and it comes to me.
You sound like Danny Green right now.
Okay, you know what? It fits. We are not a good football team this year. Looking at a total team, yeah, we got talent. We've got the most talented front four in football.
Let me ask you a question real quick before we get ready to leave off of here. If we had a good offensive line and knowing how well our defense can play, you know what I'm saying? Because right now you gotta think Chase and Montez, they got the most sacks on the team. Chase is in the top 10 with pressures, and also another stat I saw today. The way this defense plays, if we had a good offensive line and Sam Howell was able to make the running game was clicking, the passing game was clicking, and then the defense comes on the field so fresh where they could just tee off. You know what I'm saying? What shot will you give this team if all of that? And we had an offensive line that came in there, and knowing that they could pass protect really good, and Sam Howell has the time that he had,
and Ron Rivera is still the head coach.
Ron Rivera is still the head coach. Would you say to the Chicago game, the Giants game, and the Philly game, all three of them games we won, we will win?
No. I we have an awful lot of talent on our football team. You know who also has an awful lot of talent on their football team? The Carolina Panthers have an awful lot of talent on their football team. What's their record? Have they won a game yet?
You know who I wanted to be our defensive coordinator? Steve Wilkes. And you know where he at? With the 49ers.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Steve Wilkes wasn't coming to Washington as long as, and I have been saying this for years, and this has been my biggest reason for wanting Snyder out of there. As long as Snyder was running the organization, nobody is coming to Washington unless they don't have any other option or you so overpay.
Well, I will agree with that if we had Daniel Snyder. I can't agree with that now.
Well, here's the thing. We still do have Daniel Snyder because everybody on that front office, everybody on that sideline is a Daniel Snyder hire.
But that's the point of Josh Harris and Magic Johnson doomed to remove all of that.
Yeah, they're not going to do it in season.
That's what I'm saying. I think off season is better because I have heard Ben Johnson's name come up, and that's the person I want to, because I don't know a lot about him, and I probably have to do a little bit digging. Can you tell me a little bit about Ben Johnson?
Where's he right now?
Let me look at Ben Johnson.
I've heard the name. I just tell
Ben Johnson. He's with the Lions right now.
The Lions offensive coordinator?
Yeah.
That's the team there. I mean, they've got some serious. I mean, they got their butts whipped, but you lose Montgomery. With that team, I don't know though, because there are so many changes. I think the first thing that's going to happen is as soon as the season's over, our general manager's gone. Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio are gone, and Eric and general manager
Jason Wright is gone. I don't think he does, because for him to be a general manager, he doesn't do general manager's duties. For me, is Ron Rivera making all the decisions. You know what I'm saying? And Marty Herney, he's good as going too. So
who do you like? Who's the GM out there? Who's the guy out there you think that would come here?
Oh man, I like the Phillies GM. They aggressive, man. They just made a trade today with Tennessee.
He ain't going nowhere though.
No.
That's the thing is he ain't going nowhere. He went to the
I
Super
have
Bowl
heard.
last year. They may go to the Super Bowl
I
again.
have
Joe L ain't
heard.
going nowhere.
I have heard the GM for I had heard the GM for Kansas City name pop up a lot too. Cause they make moves too. They don't stay pat either. Um,
I don't want somebody else's GM.
Unless you're gonna hire somebody. I mean, you're gonna have to hire somebody that has football acumen. I mean,
Yeah, but the thing is that is somebody else's GM that
I
we can
mean,
get.
who would you get as a GM?
God, I mean, it's hard to say. Who's out there that's been a head coach for a while that may be ready to retire?
Well, I do not want Bill Belichick. I can tell you that.
Oh, hell no. Look, Bill Belichick without Tom Brady is a losing head coach.
Say, let me tell you. See, people
remember him in Cleveland. Remember him before he got
people
Brady.
People don't understand this because without the Super Bowls, you take 6 Super Bowls. Him and Ron Rivera will have the same coaching record. They'll be the same coach. They have not won anything. Tom Brady fell into Belichick lap. Yeah, he had Bledsoe, but he was not going to win Super Bowls with Bledsoe.
No,
Think
I mean,
about
Parcells tried to do it with Bledsoe and he couldn't do it.
and then the thing about it is that Ron Rivera had Cam Newton, and that was it. So you look at these two coaches, they the same. Bill was beneficial because he was able to put a defense together. He had all the defensive heads, the offensive heads around him. You know what I'm saying? I don't know who can right now. There's a lot of young talent. I want a young defensive coordinator, somebody that's really aggressive. I want somebody, an offensive coordinator that's really. I want a head coach that's an offensive coordinator that's like Kyle Shanahan and McVay. You know what? If it all be all, try to pry Sean McVay from over there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, do something. I like Mike McDaniels. You know what I'm saying? Mike McDaniels, I bet you Mike McDaniels could use the same technique with these guys on offense. He got Tua. Tua ain't no different from Sam Howell. You know what I'm saying? They offense, but they get the ball out. You gotta find guys that can. The game of football has changed a lot. It's changed. Its speed of it's changed a lot. If you look in college, how college coaches adapting so quickly. You know what I'm saying? That's how NFL coaches. You got all these young guys, the Shanahans, the McVays, the McDaniels. You got Kevin O'Connell over there.
I
All
tell
these
you
guys.
what, I like old Prime in Colorado. I mean, it's his first year of the big show, but he's doing a pretty good job there. Even though he did play for the Cowboys.
Yeah. But the thing about it is, I don't know. That's the best. It's a lot of them out there, and maybe I could do.
Well, I think what it comes out, I think, and the reason why, part of the reason why I threw that out, Martin, is that I think that the name for a new general manager is a name that we don't know yet. I don't want to see a whole bunch of names that have been around for so many years that have been successful over here, because what they are is they're older now. And we're really seeing there's a lot of head coaches and there's a lot of GMs in this game that you can already see the game has passed them by or is in the process of passing them by. And Ron Rivera is one of them. Jack Del Rio, he was a pretty darn good head coach for a number of years. The thing is his defense schemes looked exactly the same as he did in Jacksonville. And that's why, I mean, the National Football League is more prepared against the Washington Commanders than anybody else because they're too rigid. And here again, if they knew that this was it for them, that this was their last year, what's the onus for them to come up with anything new? It's not. I mean, really, it's almost like this is the last year for both of them, and they knew it coming in.
And this is why I'm so annoyed with them, because the fact of the matter is they should have been on it. They should have been coming out this gate firing hard.
I think they're doing the best. I think this team at 3-4 is performing as well as they possibly can.
I think this team is over them both. I think this team want to go. These players want to go in a new direction. They seen all the success of these other teams that not as playing as well as theirs, not as good as theirs. And like I still say this team got too much talent for to be wasted away. And Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio is wasting this talent away. And if this going to continue to go on, you know what I'm saying, then for the whole season, I'd rather fix it. I'd rather us fix it now, at least because a guy I was watching last night. I follow him, watching the Maniacs. He had a guy on his show too. I guess they co-host the show, something like how me and you do. And he said last night, why not bring in a temporary GM just to make decisions for the trades and all of this stuff?
But here's the thing. Why, if the only reason to do it is to appease the fan base, because that's the only thing that'll happen?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be able to make enough trades. You see, the thing is, this isn't baseball. Trades do happen from time to time, but you don't see many trades happen in football because with the salary cap,
they didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Go ahead.
Yeah, with the salary cap, it's almost impossible to make enough trades in season to really change the course of the thing. I think honestly, the best thing, and I'm going to go back and say this again, the best thing Josh Harrison can do is leave this team alone and sit back and watch, because what you've done is you've told a new general manager that's coming in, we haven't done a thing. You trade anybody this year, you trade for anybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
You trade for anybody, then you're kind of almost have to make sure that player is still there next season, or else you're going to get a reputation just like Snyder did of not giving a damn about the players, and then no free agent's going to want to come here. Mm-hmm. So you can't bring anybody in now because you don't know if the new GM is going to want them, what the scheme's going to be. Mm-hmm. So the best thing you can do is look back and say, you know what, Art, we've seen what we have. We're going to bring in a new GM, and that GM is going to do one or two things. That GM is either going to fire Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio, and probably
that's what they alluded to last night. They said if you bring them in early, they could go ahead and do the firing of Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio, make Eric Bieniemy the interim head coach, where he can actually audition. Rather, if it's somewhere.
But here's the thing. Is doing all that, is that going to get you in a Super Bowl, Martin? Can we make enough moves?
But Merle, I'm not looking at Super Bowl. We got to get to the playoffs and win playoff games. We're not getting
to the playoffs, Martin. That's what I'm trying to say.
But hear me out real quick. The thing about it is that, and I understand what they were saying also, but I look at it the way the team is. Now, we have went on runs in the last couple of years, but we have not got any further. But if a new GM was to come in and say, well, hey, all right, Ron, you did a good job to wherever you did, but we're moving in another direction. Boom. Eric Bieniemy, this is your gig right now. It's up to you to see if you want to stay here and take over, but you're going to have to show us something. This offensive line needs to be fixed. Do something about it. Whoever's the defensive coordinator, assistant defensive coordinator under Jack Del Rio, bring them up. They probably have a different way of scheming. I can't just jump to a Super Bowl for a team, and that's my first thought. The aberrations for every team is to win a Super Bowl, but This team has to crawl before they could walk. They
Right,
gotta
exactly.
they gotta they gotta win games first. They gotta get in the playoff, win playoff games first. I mean, jump is to say, hey, build this team to just jump to a Super Bowl. We only saw that happen in the last 2 years, and that was what Tampa Bay and Sean McVay went all out. And guess what? Look at Tampa Bay now. Look at the Rams right now. I don't want to be that team. I'd rather us to continue to build this team and get and if we could keep some of the pieces, that's fine. If we got to draft some more and make it, then that's fine. But I don't know. I mean, that's just something that they was talking last night. They had a lot of good points, but at the same time, I just don't. I really don't know. I mean, like you say, I mean, the worst course of action is probably ride it all the way out to the end of the season. Lord, is going to be painful to see and watch. I, I
Well,
mean,
here's the thing. It all comes down to what your expectations are.
yeah,
And I go back to where I was day one. And I said to myself, day one, after I looked at the preseason and all the moves they did, the most we're going to win this season is 6 games. The most we're going to win is 6 games. And if we make changes, we may get to 8 and 9, 9 and 8, maybe 10 and 7, and squeak into the playoffs and get our asses kicked in the first game.
mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, and if the best possible thing that can happen is to get a wild card berth and then get destroyed, because that's what's going to happen with all the moves that we can make, unless all of a sudden we just go out and take a couple teams out and put stuff in their drinks and make them do stuff. There is just, at this point, and I'm just trying to be as realistic as possible.
Yeah.
And as a lifelong Washington Commanders fan I'm going to watch every one of the football games. I love seeing Sam Howell get back and throwing the ball and getting me fantasy points. The defense has been playing better. The games have been more fun to watch this year than they have been last year. I am expecting wholesale changes in the offseason. It's another reason you don't do anything in season, because they're going to hire a new general manager, and don't do anything now. Wait till the offseason when you have everybody. And then you take your time, you slow down, you hire the just general manager you have. And that general manager, there's a good possibility that he's going to break up that team. And what I suggested we do going into this season is what's going to happen going into next season. And you may see Sam Howell, Terry McLaurin, Chase Young, and nobody else. But we may have 4 number 1 draft picks.
You're right about that.
And you know what? I'd be all for that. You will see me. I'll be like, you know, Martin, right now, let's you and I make sure we do this during going into in the off season, leading up in the draft and all that, because I think this is going to be a real fun off season for us.
Yeah, I do too.
But I think it's going to be a more fun off season than the rest of the season is going to be.
Oh yeah, I think we're gonna have more to talk about in the off season than we do. We do now.
Oh, definitely. But, you know, now it's just like, and I think the best thing that we can do as Washington Commanders fans, and the best thing that we can do for the fan base, those of us that are paying attention, is to really make that suggestion that, as hard as it seems, that it's time to manage expectations for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Know that we are not a playoff team. We have too many holes to fill. We had too many holes to fill.
Yeah, we do. It's going to take.
I
honestly think it's going to take us 2 drafts this year and next year to really solidify what we are as a team.
You know, I'd like to see this. When I saw Harrison take over, sometime now, the ownership group, the Guggenheim group that bought the Los Angeles Dodgers, they got the first world championship 8 years afterwards. For me, I'm saying 5 to 6. If we can get our first Super Bowl in 2028, 2029, I mean, I think we'd be ahead of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that as fans, especially in today's age of TikTok and social media, and everything's a soundbite, and we want everything on demand, and we want a Super Bowl now, and we want to make all these changes now. That's just not realistic because we're still talking about human beings. And you can
Yeah.
only change so many human beings in season. And what we have to be able to do as fans is realize that we have a rookie quarterback and a semi-pro offensive line. And I'm
Yeah.
being too hard on the offensive line. I know that. I know they're better than that. But we've got the 32nd best offensive line in the world, which is still great when you're looking at the world. But when you're looking at there's 31 NFL teams that have a better offensive line than we do. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of football teams in the NFL that have a better defensive line than our offensive line is. And that might
Yeah.
be 32 defenses.
Yeah, that's true too.
So when you see that and you know that you've got a quarterback that's never done it before, and there's not a quarterback out there that you can put in there that's going to solve it, or the Jets would have hired him already.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, come on. If the Jets haven't been able to find anybody after Aaron Rodgers went down, there's nobody else out there that can go in there with more experience that can get it done. There aren't the offensive linemen that can get it done, because if there were any, I think the Giants done hired them all.
Yeah.
So, guys, go to the games, root for the team. Look to see Sam Howell continue to make improvements. Look to see Dotson and Samuel and McLaurin look to improve their route running.
Mm-hmm.
Look at our young secondary. Look at what St. Juice has been doing these last 2 weeks. St. Juice impressed the heck out of me yesterday.
Yeah. And you know what's another thing too? I'm gonna tag on. I know that Josh Harris, said that he was worried about ticket sales and stuff like that. But I guarantee you this: if the Eagles blow us out on Sunday,
which they will,
and I promise you,
I put the Eagles by 2 touchdowns.
I know we got this game. This game's supposed to be a sellout game, but a lot of Eagles fans will probably be there. But the thing about it is, if this goes bad Sunday, and the next home game we don't have a good attendance, I guarantee you it's going to push Josh Harris button to do something. Because one thing, out of all his franchise, he got great attendance, and he gets results. And I guarantee you that's going to prompt him to say, you know what? Hey, I don't want our ticket sales to be affected. We want these fans in the stadium. We need to make a decision.
But making a decision like that based on a season that's already lost.
Mm-hmm.
We are 3-4. Okay. We are 0-2 in the NFC East right now.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Okay.
But
we are coming close. We're not too many weeks away from pretty much being out of it. The Eagles. What's the Eagles' record right now? 6-1, right?
Yeah, they're 6-1 right now.
Okay, 6-1. We're 3-4. We only play the Eagles one more time. How do we win the division?
Check this out. I'm looking at the conference division right now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We 9th right now. And guess what? Tampa Bay is ahead of us. The Rams and us have the same record. If Washington had won yesterday's game and they had won the Eagles game, we would have been in the play. Speaking in the play, we'd have been tied with Dallas right now.
Okay, but you know what? We don't have the team to win the Super Bowl, so what? I guess this is who I am.
No, I get
nothing to me.
But see, I think because your expectation is us to go to the Super Bowl. I can't I can't jump that leap yet.
Well, I don't think
because
we're going to the Super Bowl for at least 5 years. I'm thinking if we get to the Super Bowl in 5 to 8 years, then I'm happy. All right. As a fan, and so many fans are doing this, they're talking about, well, it's been 5 years, it's been 10 years, it's been 20 years. It's not been.
But
it has been half a season with an ownership group that is committed to spending the first season evaluating what we have.
But see, this is where I look at the schedule. Me personally, I want us to make the playoffs and win a playoff game. That's why I want us to build from. I don't want us to have the expectations to say, oh, well, we need to go to the Super Bowl, because it's going to take time. The Eagles, 49ers, the Lions, Seattle, Dallas, and Atlanta is leading their division because they won yesterday. So therefore, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams. You got 2 teams ahead of us. How many teams in the playoffs now? 9?
7.
7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Tampa Bay is that wild card. So right then and there, you got the Rams.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, is it 6 or 7? Because what, you got 4 division winners,
and you got 3 wild cards.
3 wild cards, so that's 7,
yes.
and then we're 9th. So we're 2 out of the final wild card. How many games out are we? How many games out right now?
So right now we tied with the Rams. We only a game out.
We have to get in front of 3 teams. We're tied with the Rams, but they have at least 1 division win.
Yeah.
So basically, we've got 3 teams. We got 3 teams to get in front of, just to make it to the playoffs. You know, I don't think that's a realistic thing to happen. I'd love to see it, but I'd also love to win that $116 million tomorrow night when they do the Mega Millions drawing. And I think I've got about enough chances winning the lottery as we do making the playoffs. I don't love the team any less. In fact, I love them a little more now than I did last year because the ownership's changed. And I think Josh Harrison is making the right move by not having made a change.
Yeah, that's true too. I mean, we all disgruntled, but I ain't gonna lie though. I mean, it's hard. It's hard watching, but I support the team. I just wanted to play better. As long as they could fix the issues that they can just to get through the season, I'll be happy. You know what I'm saying? Because I do love what this team is about. I just, it's tiring. It's tiring. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and,
you're right. You're right. And you heard it more in my voice last year.
Oh yeah.
And I was calling for the head of the owner every week.
Oh yeah, you wanted to rip it from the ground up. You wanted to build the players and everybody on top of RK Stadium at the same time.
I still do. Still do. I mean, literally. I mean, there's Sam Howell is. I mean, I love the way this kid plays. I don't think we get rid of him. Jonathan Allen is done on this team. But at the same time, if I'm the owner, I want to make sure every one of these pieces are there for the new GM to decide what to do. And then let that new GM in the offseason. They're going to hire a new GM within days of the Super Bowl being completed. We'll have a new GM. Yeah. And by the time the draft comes next year, the trades will be made that we're going to make. All of that will be set up. And then we'll have a brand new GM coming in, hiring his own coach, hiring his own coordinators, making their own changes. The fact that Harris is not forcing this issue now is telling the whole world, is telling the NFL world that the Washington Commanders ownership is not messing with the team anymore. It's safe to come work here.
Well,
that has been a reason, a big reason. And all the fans can say it. And this is something that they don't tell you in the newspaper, because what do the guys at WFAN would say? Well, we know that from hearing from what they won't tell us or what they won't let us say on the air, that nobody worth a darn is going to come here. And if we tell people the truth and say nobody worth a darn is going to come here, do you think any fans would come in the stands?
Yeah.
And do you think if Josh Harrison was going to say at the beginning of the season, look, I know what we have, but I'm committed to not making any changes during the year, so I know I don't make the wrong moves like Snyder made. Because here's the thing. With a new owner, it's better to not make a move than to make a wrong move, because it'll make the wrong moves. Look at what happened. Dan Snyder came in immediately and made a whole bunch of changes. And look at the changes that he made.
Yeah. It kind of, and that's why I still think that this team, if Ron Rivera don't listen to the fans and say, hey, okay, we need to fix this offensive line. If they fix this offensive line, this team could get back to being competitive, and they could win enough games to get one of the wild cards.
Right, but you don't listen to the fans in season.
Yeah,
because the fans don't.
I know
really,
I'm guilty. I ain't gonna lie. I'm guilty of it, of firing Ron Rivera. I still hold by that, but I still think they can fix the offensive line to make a decent enough run to win these games, because there's some teams on our schedule that we should be able to beat. You know what I'm saying? And get a wild card. If that
Martin, I love you, man. I love the whole. We lost to the Chicago Bears, who hadn't lost a game in 340 days at home.
I know.
Okay, we are not going to the playoffs, and if we do, because here's the other thing. Here's another reason. I'm afraid to go to the playoffs and have Sam Howell get a concussion or worse in a playoff game.
Yeah,
I'm afraid that we go to the playoffs and end up with some serious injuries that we can't win the Super Bowl. We can't. So we got no business being in the playoffs. I don't even want to go to the playoffs until we can do something. I don't even want to go to the playoffs until we have a new line, until we have new linebackers, because we aren't a good enough football team to do anything. You know, how many times over the last 24 years since Snyder took over the team have we made the playoffs? Oh, great. We made the playoffs. Shit, we haven't won a Super Bowl since my freshman year at RIT back in 1992.
Well,
the last time we won before that, the only reason we won the Super Bowl was because of the strike.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
And luckily Jay Schrader melted down.
Oh yeah.
Because if Jay Schrader doesn't melt down, Doug Williams doesn't get a chance to start down the stretch, and we don't even make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So here again, and we haven't had a franchise quarterback since a Monday night in the Meadowlands, when our franchise quarterback got laid out with a broken leg and never played again. We have not had a true franchise quarterback since. Cousins was not a true franchise quarterback. RG3 was not a true franchise quarterback. Mark Rippon was not a true franchise quarterback. He had a good year.
Well,
Doug Williams was a true franchise quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, not for us. By the time he came here, he was done. I watched Doug Williams once throw a touchdown pass laying on his back, 15 yards. He slipped and fell on his back, hadn't been touched, or on his backside, he threw a 20-yard strike. Doug Williams is one of the greatest quarterbacks that ever played the game. I'm so happy he got a Super Bowl ring with us. But he's in Canton as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer for a reason.
Well, brother, I know we've been on for a long time, but we have a lot to discuss.
Well, real quick, against Philadelphia, I think the for me, the key to the game is making sure your smoker is between 200 and 250 degrees.
That was pretty good. That bacon wrap you
know what? The game can suck. The game can suck, but if you can keep your temperature on the smoker right, whether it's a brisket, whether it's a Boston butt, or maybe fry some chickens, whatever you do, make it a party. cook some food, drink some beverages, if that's what your thing is. And if the Washington Commanders can win a football game, that'll be great. I'll be the first person jumping up and down, going, probably saying some stuff like I knew that they could do it. But even if they lose, I promise you, I will be here next Monday night talking about my Washington Commanders, your Washington Commanders, our Washington Commanders, and how we can continue to get better. But I'm going to ask all of us, let's just try to look and try to appreciate what we have and appreciate that we actually have a kid at the quarterback position that looks like he can actually play this game of football at a very, very high level.
Yep.
And it's somebody that we haven't seen here. I mean, say what you want about RG3. He was a college quarterback. He was not big enough to play football in the NFL as a quarterback. He wasn't.
Well, I mean, you got Lamar and got
Lamar's a bigger guy. Lamar's a bigger guy, a stronger guy, and a healthier guy.
Yeah. Well,
it was. There was a thing, and I'll end on this. And this was RG3's problem. This was Colin Kaepernick's problem. This is a lot of these small quarterbacks that are fast. Michael Vick comes into the league and runs roughshod all over it. So what does the NFL do? They adjusted, and they created linebackers like Luke Kuechly. And these linebackers are faster than the quarterbacks, bigger than the quarterbacks, and stronger than the quarterbacks, and they can catch them. And that's what happened. And all those quarterbacks like RG3 and Colin Kaepernick and, I mean, who are some of the other small guys that are out there that just haven't had long careers because they've gotten killed?
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden the NFL found linebackers that can catch them. And that's why we're starting to see resurgence of more pocket passers or kind of a hybrid, a guy that can run, but can also stay back in the pocket and pass. And I think Sam Howell is capable of doing that.
Yeah.
You get him a line. And I hope we can do it without getting rid of our defensive line in the offseason. But maybe that's the right thing to do because as good and talented as they are, our team hasn't shown that they can play together as a team yet.
Yeah, I think that's the key right there.
How many teams in how many sports have you seen that have talent all up and down the roster, should be undefeated, but for some reason they can't communicate? You know, when I think of talent and I look at a former Washington Redskin quarterback as a guy by the name of Jeff George, one of the most talented quarterbacks I've ever seen in the National Football League. He was an asshole. He didn't have the locker room. He didn't have the huddle. He was the greatest athlete on the field, and he'd tell you about it. He'd tell his players about it. And after a season in Indianapolis, they were done with him. And there were all these almost. And then Snyder comes in and you go, you know what? I'm going to be the guy that wins with Jeff George. Well, you know what? You didn't with Jeff George. And that's why I don't want to make any knee-jerk reactions in season because we're not playing well. Because I knew it was going to be this way anyway. So let the season play out. Enjoy the games. But know that we've got a new general manager coming. We got a new coach coming, and we got a whole lot of players coming. And if we do it right, sometime in the next 5 to 8 years, we'll get a Super Bowl champion. But I don't think we'll get one before.
No, I'll say 5 years. I don't want to say 8 years, but hey, anything can happen. Well, as always, we almost went 2 hours. But
yeah, we did.
I said, but it was good though, because the thing about I got to ask you a lot of questions because, you know, I always be trying to get a lot of different perspective on a lot of different things. And I just, we still passionate about this team, and, you know, a lot of us are still, you know, mad because we don't like what's transpiring with this team. So with that being said, we're going to wrap up another Monday edition of the Watch the Commanders Aftermath. Hopefully, to see y'all here 8 o'clock on Mondays again after we play the Philadelphia Eagles, which that will be kind of tough game, but who knows? We might could knock them off their high horse. We got close to knocking them a couple of weeks ago. So I know they're going to be ready for us because they know that we one of the teams that played them tough in the division. Out of all the teams, I think we played them the toughest.
In
So
1989, I was in basic training in Fort Benning, Georgia. I remember this happened, but this quick story, and then we can go. One of my drill sergeants, Sergeant Eckert, was from Arkansas, was a huge Dallas Cowboy fan. Dallas Cowboys had not won a game yet that season. And we're coming into Washington to play the Redskins. And we went to the playoffs that year. We were a very good football team. And I remember my drill sergeant used to have me in his office on Saturdays and Sundays, helping to organize the file cabinet. Well, this Sunday, I got all my stuff done. And instead of just kind of looking with one eye and running out and telling everybody else the scores, I started paying attention to the game, especially when Dallas started getting up. Well, right after halftime, and Dallas scored a touchdown, and I muttered something. Sergeant Eckert looks at me and goes, "Private Needham." "Yes, drill sergeant." "You want to watch the football game?" "Yes, drill sergeant." "Okay, get out." I watched the entire third quarter from the front leaning rest. He was yelling at me the whole time. Dallas Cowboys won that football game. I forget the score, but it was a beatdown. That was the only football game the Dallas Cowboys won that season. Any given Sunday, especially in the NFC East, any team can beat any other team. I'm not surprised when it happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll be watching the Commanders. I'll be rooting. I'll be calling my buddy Chris, and I'll be yelling crap like "Fry chickens fry." Just the amount of silliness that's going to come out of my mouth that day. And I hope we win. But if we don't, I'm not going to be surprised, and I'm not going to shy away from it. I'm going to be a good sport about it, and I'm going to continue to root for the team. And I just know in my heart of hearts that this off season, Harris is going to do right by us.
Well, I know he will. I don't have nothing against saying that he don't. But right now, we're just going to take each game by game.
Got to.
Yeah.
Got to.
All right, brother. Until the next time, y'all know where I can find us at. Check out all of my social media, YouTube and everything. I'm all over the place. So therefore, as long as you plug in Livewire Sports Media, that's where I'm at. Until then, Merle, give them your location.
All right. Hey, this is Merrill Needham coming to you from Dallas, North Carolina. You can catch me here every Monday nights. You can also catch me on my YouTube show, Between Two Guitars. Which we're coming out with the new relaunch here very shortly, so stay tuned. Until next week, this has been Washington Commanders, the Aftermath. Take it away, Martin.
All right, guys. Until then, God bless and good night.